I wanted to talk in this clip quickly about de-escalation and when and where it's applicable. So, the conversation I had a few weeks ago with somebody online was about if someone was being raped, this person believed they could show empathy or sympathy and they would be able to talk the person down and talk them out of committing the attack. While de-escalation is very, very important, and we do practice it, we do study it at Arbud because it is a very important part of the pre-fight, there comes a certain point where the person is no longer receptive to it. So if someone's already pinned you up against the wall by the throat and they're just punching you in the face, they are not receptive to you talking to them. If somebody is committing a rape and they are, shall we say, in an engorged state, they are not going to be receptive to talking. You are not going to be able to logically talk to them and talk them out of it and explain why it's a bad thing they're doing. At the point where they are no longer receptive, that is when we must employ a physical skill set. We must use our physical tools to stop them, because the logical part of their brain is shut off. They're now going on pure instinct or rage or aggression. So if someone is already in the middle of being physical, we cannot hope to combat that by simply talking to them. It's up to a certain point they will be receptive to it. Up to a certain point where they're still posturing and they're still sort of threatening you, then you can use de-escalation, you can talk them down, you can give them a loophole to get out of it. Loopholes are very important for people. If someone's going to attack you and they have got the pretty girls watching or they've got their friends watching, they cannot be seen to back down. Even if they don't really want to fight you, which 9 times out of 10 they won't, they can't be seen to be backing down. So if you give them a loophole where they can walk away without losing face, they will take it most of the time. So if you tell them, look, we're on camera here from 12 different angles, the police are right around the corner, if we start fighting now, we're both going to get in trouble. Come to my gym on Sunday evening, I'll put everyone to one side and we can go at it one-on-one and whatever happens, happens. That gives that guy an escape then, without him losing face, because he can tell his friends, we're not fighting now because the police are watching and we're on camera, so we're going to do it at a later date. The next day, he won't bring it up. He'll hope everyone forgets about it, we can all go on with our lives. If you can say to the guy, look mate, I really don't want to fight you because I think you'd kill me. Who cares what he actually thinks? If he goes away saying, oh yeah, I did the guy a favour by letting him off, alright. As long as you get away from that situation without getting beaten, it works. Right? The only thing that would stop you doing that is your ego. And as I've mentioned in other clips, ego will get you killed. So leave your ego at home. Try and get rid of your ego altogether if you can. But there's a certain point, if that person was already swinging at you, where he would not be receptive to that loophole. If someone's already swinging at you or trying to get at you, talking to them won't work. So as good an idea as de-escalation is, and it is a very good idea, which is why we teach it, we spend so much time on it, if you don't know how to do it, you're probably just going to make things worse. And if you don't understand there's a time for it and there's a time not for it, you're just going to get hurt. The instant the person becomes physical, the interview is over. If you use the fence properly, as we teach it, then when the interview is coming close to an end and you realise the interview is almost over, you go first, which is preemption, which I go over in another video. You have to get out of your head this concept that every single attack can be stopped or avoided purely by talking to someone. If somebody is hell-bent on attacking you, then they will attack you. And no amount of saying, well, just sit down with me and let's have a cup of tea and a slice of cake. Can you tell me why you're so angry? It's not going to work. Also, talking to someone de-escalation, if they're not receptive to it, it might not be that they're so angry that it's not going to work. It might be that you're speaking two different languages. If the other person does not understand the words you're saying, then no matter what you say to them, it's not going to have any effect. It might be that the person is on drugs. It might be that the person should be on drugs and they're not on drugs. There's a whole lot of different things that can become a factor in this. So it's kind of one idea you have of, well, I know how to talk to people, I know how to be sympathetic to people, and I've gone through a lot of things in my own life, so I understand why people are coming from. No, you don't. It doesn't work that way. At the point when you're about to be attacked, you are not the counsellor, you are not the therapist. Your sole objective is to stop that bastard before he hurts you, to stop him or her before they hurt somebody else around you. There are plenty and plenty of trained counsellors, trained therapists who have spent years getting an education in it so that they know exactly what they're looking for, so they know exactly what to say, they know exactly what not to say. Let them deal with it. Right? Once the guy has been arrested and he's forced to go through something like this, and they're forced to go to therapy sessions during their prison term, let the therapist deal with them then. You are not a therapist, you are not the counsellor. Even if you are by profession, at the point when someone has stood a foot and a half in front of you and they're telling you that they're about to eat your face and kill your children, you are no longer a counsellor or a therapist. It is your sole objective then to hit them as hard as you can, knock them on their ass, and run away. That's your only goal in that point. This is something you have to get through to your head. I know it's quite disturbing and it's quite uncomfortable because we don't want to hit people, we don't want to hurt people. As human beings, we are designed to want to have everyone be friendly and come together, because the bigger our tribe is, the better our chances of survival. Whereas going around clocking people goes in a different view of that, goes in a different direction of doing that. However, part of the training is to dehumanize the person in front of you. Not forever, but just for that brief moment, might only be 30 seconds, where you can dehumanize the person in front of you, allowing you to strike them as hard as you can to get away. We're not saying be callous and turn off any empathy or sympathy for all humans. Don't do that. That's stupid. But you have to learn how to switch yourself so that the person in front of you is no longer a person, they are just a target. They are an animal that is trying to do you harm. They are an animal that is trying to harm your family and your friends. It's difficult to do that if your mindset is over here saying, well, there's probably been something that's happened to them in their past. They've suffered some type of trauma that has led them to want to do that. Yeah, okay, there very well might have been, but that doesn't give them the right to then visit violence on you. To say this person needs to be spoken to, this person needs counselling and therapy, something has happened to them traumatically that has led them to want to do this to other people. Well, if they do this to you, then by that route, there's a good chance that you will then want to go and do that to other people. So really, you're stopping the cycle by smashing the person. Absolutely lamp them and get away. It's always about getting away. It's never about beating someone for the sake of beating them. But we must be aware that there's a certain point where the brain changes. The chemical balance in the brain changes when you're doing something physical, especially when you're doing something violent. Some of the triggers of things that happen once the adrenaline has been triggered, you'll get sort of tunnel vision, so it'll be like you're looking down a tunnel. So peripheral vision doesn't really work too well, which is why hooks work quite well in real fights. Your mouth will go dry, your stomach will feel like it's full of butterflies, your knees might start to shake. One of the other things that will happen is your hearing will go. Your hearing will go slightly, like if you've ever been underwater and you can sort of hear things muffled, that's how your hearing will go. So if we know the person in front of us, because of the adrenaline dump, because of the mixture in chemicals going on, the person in front of us will not be able to hear us perfectly anyway. The person in front of us won't be able to hear us properly. So whatever we're saying is going to come through muffled and garbled anyway. That's if they're not on something, if they speak the same language as you, if they're receptive, which by this point, they won't be receptive to it. So we need to understand the physical changes once the person crosses over the line where they're no longer receptive to what you're saying. Once we can do that, and once we can identify when a person is no longer receptive, we can then work on the small window we have to strike into escape, and we have to understand and work on the small window we have to de-escalate things and to use loopholes and to posture and talk the person down. A lot of people out there who say, oh, well, I would just talk to them. I'm very good at talking. I would talk the person down. I would calm things out. I'm very good at this. I do it at the office all the time. It's two very separate things, right? Two people in your office arguing over whose stapler it is or who didn't refill the coffee machine is very, very different from a 6 foot plus, 16.5 stone shaven gorilla trying to pin you up against the wall and rape you. They're two very separate things. Also, when you think of, I can de-escalate things, how often have you tried to use your verbal skills whilst under heavy, heavy pressure, under a lot of stress? We don't just pressure test physical skills, we need to pressure test our verbal skills. If you're not used to having an adrenaline dump where everything goes in every direction, you go, I don't know what I'm doing. How often do you practice being in that state and talking? How often do you practice being in that state where you're very afraid, but you're still trying to use logic and you're still trying to be as proficient as you can with your words? It's not going to work. A lot of people get garbled. They sort of feel like cottonmouth and they because of the adrenaline dump, and they don't know how to react to it, and their body's reacting badly to it. So if you don't take all of this into account, and you don't train for this, if you don't train to put yourself in front of raw, naked aggression, which you can do in a controlled manner in the classes, then you're probably not going to be able to talk anything down because you haven't practiced doing it under stress. So these are just my views on it from someone who has used de-escalation and the verbiage in real situations whilst working security in different venues. It does work if you know how to do it. It does work as long as you are aware where the line is and where you know this person is no longer receptive to anything I'm saying. I now have to be physical. The physical, by the way, can just be a change in posture and a change in your demeanour. It doesn't necessarily mean actually having to assault the person. However, 9 times out of 10 it will, because if you can't de-escalate it in time, it's going to take a physical response that might be, hitting the guy across the jaw or just shoving them, depending on the build. This is all stuff we train. We go over this in every session and every seminar. Any comments or questions, please do let me know. Please feel free to like and share and subscribe. Thank you.